you give more choices of trees, good trees for this area? Trees that don't have, I mean, we have small yards, most
Correct.
of us do.
Yeah.
And we plant the wrong trees, our neighbors plant the wrong trees. What trees should we be planting?
Okay, I gave you a couple there. Some that just come off the top of my head. I like the olive tree, the Olea. The Swan Hill variety is the non-fruity variety, which I like.
So it doesn't get the olive.
It doesn't get, exactly.
So what's the name of that?
The variety is called the Swan Hill variety of olive tree. So when you get it, just make sure you get it from a reputable nursery. Some places you go to, yeah, I need the Swan Hill non-fruiting, right? Oh, yeah, that's it, sure.
Non-fruiting.
Non-fruiting, so you won't get the olives. And then, 2 years later, next thing you know, you have olives, you go back and they say, oh, sorry, that's what you'll get. So, really, go to a reputable place. Some other trees that come off the top of my head. Oh, a great tall shrub / tree, Italian buckthorn. I think I mentioned that earlier, for providing privacy. That, very little water once it's established. Another tree that's really, really popular right now is it's called the little cotto. It's an avocado tree.
I was just going to ask about avocado. You read my mind.
Oh, fantastic. This particular avocado tree, we all have that avocado tree. I know my neighbor has one 2 doors down. We've seen it. And I'm sure you guys have seen it as well. The avocado tree, phenomenal. 80-foot canopy spread, 50 feet tall, huge avocados, full size. You got to get a ladder, get up there and get them. Fantastic if that's your deal. This particular avocado tree, it will give you full-sized avocados on it will max out at about 10, 12 feet tall tree. So it stays fairly tame. It'll get a trunk, or not trunk diameter, canopy diameter on it, probably about 6 feet tall, or 6 feet wide, by about 10 feet. Currently I have mine, it's been in the ground about 3 years. It started as a 5-gallon. Right now it's maybe 7 feet tall, and I probably have about 20 avocados on it. So,
Tell us the
I
name
have
of it again.
400 avocados this year. Or more.
wow, what kind of avocado do you have?
We planted a seed. And for,
Uh-huh.
for 10, 12 years, my husband would say, the avocado tree, I'd say, I think it's a mango. Because the leaves are so similar. And
Yeah.
finally, last year, we must have had 20,
That's
30
great.
avocados. And this year, it is phenomenal. And it's like only this far from a wall.
Oh my goodness.
It was the seed we planted.
So it was probably like a Haas avocado, or maybe something you got from the market.
It was from the market.
Yeah, and you said it's been about 10, 12 years, which is interesting because my father...
Maybe 14 years. Our grandson was about 5 when we planted it, and he's almost 19 now.
Yeah. So a lot of times I find it's fun as well. My father, he's great at this. He'll get avocados and he'll, put it in the paper towel with water, and he'll wait for it to sprout, and then he'll plant it in the front yard. Well, he lives in North Redondo, and he's got about 5, maybe 6 avocado trees that are now 15 feet tall in his front yard. And he'd always say, "Why aren't they giving me fruit?" I said, "Dad, well, you didn't. It needs a pollinator if you're gonna
I
grow."
don't know how ours did it.
Yeah, it's amazing the way
And the neighbors
the
said.
earth is. Pollination from another avocado tree, a bee, something happens.
The bees.
Typically, it takes about 10 years from the time it's planted, from a pit to the time you actually get fruit. And, there's some could be 5, some could be 50. But my point is that it does take some time for them to go ahead and achieve that on their own. However, when you buy it from the nursery, they come pre-grafted.
Right.
So that they're ready to go from the time you put it in the ground and you provide a nice fertile environment.
I
It's going to
think
start.
there could have been 2 seeds because it's almost like 2
What's the name
trunks.
of the tree?
Yeah.
For rural-
Or you could have just
Little
split it
cotto.
and you have some codominance going on there.
So
But-
what do you think of a Western redbud?
Worts.
Those are phenomenal, aren't they?
Works.
I love the foliage on that. That coloring on that. Western redbud. If you guys are writing something down, Western redbud.
Who has that?
And they stay fairly
Local
tame. I
nursery,
mean,
they
20
can
feet
get it for you.
tall.
Okay, so
But the
they-
foliage
they
on
have
them,
to
my
order,
goodness,
Monrovia,
really nice contrast.
I mentioned, we talked a little bit
Deep
about.
roots, you can get it international, they can get them.
Huge, but it's in a great
It's like
location.
box stores are
I
the
think we
whatever
can only
cheapest.
cut down the
easiest.
soil to get rid of it, right? Can I plant a tree close to, a new tree close to it? How does that work?
Ideally, anytime you're removing a tree, a couple different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
What we like to do is you could stump grind it out. You can hire somebody to bring in a big old stump grinder. If it's in a backyard, you're going to have trouble getting it through the narrow gateways. Typically, a stump grinder will go down about 6 inches, which is, about that much. It's really hard to get it, down farther than that, possibly get it 10 inches. We actually hand dig them out, and when you do that, you're actually removing the entire root ball of the specimen. So it's going to take time, and you got to have some guys with a strong back and a sharp axe to do it, but it is doable. And once you remove that entire root ball, you can then place a tree back fairly close in that same area, providing you soil amend the soil and do the proper things to get in there.
Pine trees, can't plant anything under them.
Pine trees, things that would be tolerant to their constant needle drop, so acid-loving plants. And then you just got to keep up on keeping the pine needles out. But getting back to the removal of the tree, the other way to go about it, some people will do this. There's a stump remover, a product you can put on there, and that's a chemical you're doing in there. So just keep in mind if you want to have chemicals in there or not. But it will rapidly increase the decomposition of that trunk. Go ahead.
Is there some place on the internet or the library, a book that you can see how long a lifespan of certain trees are? Because I know some of them, 100 years or whatever, and because sometimes it's like, okay, your expiration date's up. I should probably get rid of you because you're only going to make another, 5
Correct.
years.
Yeah,
like
that's a
pine
great
trees
question.
last a really long time, I know, and other trees, not so much. So that kind of helps decide which ones.
Yeah, you could even Google it. The Western Garden Book might have some information on there. They're always putting that out every year. But it's like you said, like the birch tree, for example, the Betula pendula. You're lucky if you get 20, 30 years out of it. And a plum tree, you're fortunate if you get 20, 30 years out of it. Of course, your oaks, your madrones, eucalyptus pines, you get a much greater lifespan coming off of that.